A proportion is actually a statement that shows that two ratios or two rates are equal. So for example, if I write 1/3 and I ask you to show me a proportion, I'm looking for something that you could write, a fraction that would be equivalent to 1/3. What's one method you could use to write an equivalent fraction? In order to write a proportion, can I multiply this by 5 and then multiply this by 2? Will that show me a proportion? Is that a proportional relationship? No. No. Why not? If I choose, I just chose a random number. If I choose to multiply this by 5, what do I need to do to the denominator? Multiply by 5. What's 1 times 5? What's 3 times 5? That's it. That's a proportion. You're showing, it's a statement that shows that two ratios are equal. Is it true that 1/3 is equal to 5/15? Is this statement true? Are they equal? Yes. Because it's proportional. I've multiplied both numbers by the same value. 100/20, if I want to find a fraction that's equivalent to that, I can either multiply both of these by a number or I can divide them. And this is like what you did when you were reducing fractions to lowest terms. Same idea. What are 120 both divisible by? What number can go into both of those numbers? Okay, so we chose 2. Both of these are divisible by 2. 50 and 10. Anyone pick a different number to divide by? Did anyone find this in lowest terms? Yes. Yes. If I want to put this in lowest terms, I can divide both of these by 20. What's 100 divided by 20? 5. Excellent. And 20 divided by 20 is 1. You've just created proportional relationships. Okay? Okay, so Leah's working 30 hours in a week and she earns $1,155. So we want to find, so if in a week she's working 30 hours and she's making $1,155. If all of a sudden she works for 40 hours that week, we have to figure out how much did she make. We know how much she made in 30 hours, but we have to figure out how much did she earn in 40 hours. So one method is we could take the total amount she earns in the week and divide it by 30. What will that give us? That's giving us what? How much she makes per hour. This is giving us her rate. I like the word you used. Per hour. 38.5, which, and you have to put a 0 here because we're dealing with money. She's making $38.50 for 1 hour, right? So I'm going to write this as a proportion. 1155/30 is equal to 38.5/1. Is that true? That's a proportional relationship. The question said we have to figure out how much does she earn in 40 hours. I know how much she earns in 30 hours. I know how much she earns in 1 hour. How can I figure out how much she earns in 40 hours? I'm going to take her hourly rate and we're going to multiply it by 40. Okay, so 38.50 times 40. Yes, Arsma? $1,540. Does everyone understand what I did there? Another way we could have done this, different methods. Who likes this method better? Okay, another way we could do this, again, we can write the ratio. The ratio of amount earned to hours is 1,155 dollars for every 30 hours. We're trying to figure out how much, I'm going to put an X here, it's unknown, does she make in 40 hours? Does everyone understand what I did here? Yeah. I'm setting up a proportion. How can I solve this? What is this called that I'm doing? Cross multiplication. I want everyone to do this right now. I'm going to take 30 and I'm going to cross multiply, so I'm going to multiply it by x. 30 times x is written as 30x. And then what am I multiplying? Okay, then we take 1,155 and multiply it by 40. I'm just going to use brackets to show multiplication. We're good so far?
6,000.
I need to isolate x. I need to get x by itself. Remember this from grade 8. Opposite operations. 30 times x. What's the opposite of multiply? If I divide this by 30, I'm isolating my x, right? If I divide the left side by 30, what do I have to do to the right side? Yes, but I skipped a step. I didn't multiply this yet, right? BEDMAS. What is 1,155 times 40?
46,200.
Okay, and then I'm going to divide that by 30. What are we left with? 1,540. So that means that if she works 40 hours, she gets 1,540. The exact same answer I got before, but who likes cross multiplication better? Okay, so let's try an example of what we just did. You're given the proportion, which is just showing you two equivalent ratios or two equivalent fractions, and you're trying to solve. That means I'm trying to figure out what is the unknown. X represents an unknown value. Easiest way to do this, doesn't matter if you want to do it this way or another way, but you can cross multiply. So, when you cross multiply, you're just draw an X if you want to remind you. It means I'm taking this number and I'm multiplying it by this number. In that case, it's not a number, it's a variable. So the way we write 14 times X, we just write it as 14X. When you have a number next to a variable, that means multiplication. Okay? Then I'm taking 25 and multiplying it by 56. Right? So I'm going to put 25 bracket 56. So let's do this first. I skipped this last time, but let's actually solve that. 14x is equal to, what is this? What's 25 times 56? 1,400. Excellent. I'm trying to get x by itself. I'm trying to isolate x. So to get rid of this 14, the opposite of multiplication is division. If I divide this by 14, it becomes 1. I don't need to put a 1 there. 1 times anything is same answer. What do I have to do to the right side? Divide by 14. So what's the final answer? 100. Okay? So we've solved it. And let's check, is it true that 25 over 14 is equal to 100 over 56? And somebody already said, we could have looked at this and said, I know that I have to multiply this by 4 to get to 56, which means I have to multiply the numerator by 4. 25 times 4 is 100. You could have done it that way faster. Good. 21 times k is written as 21k, and then what? 37 times 16. What is 37 times 16?
I have it.
Yep.
It's 592.
Okay, so 21k equals 592. How do I solve for k? Last step, divide by what? 21, whatever number is in front of k, whatever the coefficient is, that's what you have to divide by. Because I'm trying to get k by itself, so I have to take 592 and divide by 21. What is 592 divided by 21? 28.190476619. So for this question, actually, we should have just put this in lowest terms as a fraction. What information are we given this question? We're told that a recipe calls for what? What do we need in our recipe? 1.75 kilograms of what? Potatoes for every how many people? For 6 people. I want you to write this down. So we have to figure out, we're going to set up a proportion to find the number of kilograms needed. So I don't know how many kilograms I would need if we had how many people? 16. No, we know what it is for 6. we need to figure out what it is for 16 people. I don't know. So I want you right now to set up a proportion. So set up, you can write it as a fraction. Okay, remember, we're writing a proportion. What do we know and what do we need to know? The first thing you have to figure out is what is the ratio. We're looking at a ratio of kilograms to people. The ratio is 1.75 kilograms for every how many people?
6.
Okay, so that's a ratio of 1.75 to 6. Raise your hand if you wrote that somewhere on your page.
I wrote it in there.
Okay, well, we need to figure out the proportional relationship. If I have 1.75 kilograms for every 6 people, I need to figure out how many kilograms, that's my unknown, I'm going to call it X, for every 16 people. So where am I going to put X? Line it up with kilograms. I don't know the kilograms, but I know that I'm finding the number of kilograms for every how many people? So where am I going to write 16? That's it. Once you figure out your proportion, now we just cross multiply. I want everyone to do that now. So the first thing is 6 times x, which is 6x, equals what? We're multiplying 1.75 times 16. So what is 1.75 times 16? Good, is 28. And then what do I have to do to both sides? Divide by 6, divide by 6, x equals. So it was 4.6 repeating. I'm going to round it off to 4.7. Look here. Approximately equal to 4.7 kilograms.